Good news for air travelers. The U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C. has ordered the Federal Aviation Administration to review claims by advocacy groups that shrinking airline seats have created a potential safety hazard for passengers. According to the advocacy group Flyers' Rights, the average width of airplane seats decreased from 18.5 inches at the start of the 2000s to 17 inches by 2005. Reuters reports that average seat width today is 16.5 inches. The average seat pitch, meaning the distance between seat rows, has declined from an average of 35 inches in the 1970s to 31 inches, and even as low as 28 inches on some airlines. The shrinking seats allow airlines to make room for an extra row of premium-priced seats at the front of the plane. Spirit Airlines and Frontier Airlines have the tightest seat pitches, with only 28 inches between rows. Economy class rows on Delta and United are spaced between 30 and 31 inches, while JetBlue and Southwest are more generous, both giving their passengers at least 32 inches on most flights. Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews. Sit back and enjoy the ride. United Airlines passengers feel the squeeze. United Airlines has confirmed it will retrofit some of its Boeing 777 jets to include 10 abreast seating in economy. The airline will reconfigure coach class in 19 of its Boeing 777s on domestic routes, mostly serving Hawaii. United will rip out its current 9 seats in a row 2-5-2 layout to squeeze 10 passengers per row into a 3-4-3 configuration. That means the aisles in economy class will become narrower by around 3 inches each. The new layout will also mean a reduction in elbow room, as seat width decreases from 18 inches to 17 inches. But legroom shouldn't be affected. The only way that would be reduced is if United added extra rows of seats. Capacity on a typical United Airlines Boeing 777 flying domestic routes will increase by 20 passengers, from 344 to 366. International routes on United will retain a 9 abreast 3-3-3 configuration in economy. But the move reflects a growing trend in aviation, with a 3-4-3 layout used on at least some planes by carriers including Emirates, American Airlines, and KLM. According to Boeing, more than half of the 777s it sold last year had 10 abreast seating in coach class. Increased capacity can help airlines raise revenue, which they say keeps fares lower. Adding an extra seat per row is one of the least extreme ideas floated by airlines recently. More out-of-left-field plans have included an Airbus patent for split-level seating, and French manufacturer Zodiac's idea to make passengers sit facing each other in a hexagon layout. Both Ryanair and Chinese budget carrier Spring Airlines have even said they would like to offer standing seats on passenger aircraft.
French company decides face-to-face airplane seating. A French manufacturer of aircraft passenger seats has filed a patent for a new seating design that would increase cabin capacity by having passengers face each other. The design is being met with strong objection by potential travelers. Zodiac Seats France's latest design, called Economy Class Cabin Hexagon, alternates the cabin seats between facing forward and facing backwards in order to increase cabin density. The bottoms of the seat can be folded up, allowing passengers to access the middle and window seats. The company claims that the new design can increase space for the shoulder and arm areas, as well as give each passenger 4 more inches of leg room. However, the company says it has no plans to put the new design into production at the moment.
Former Marine booted from plane for being too fat to fly. American Airlines is under fire after a veteran was reportedly kicked off a flight for being too fat. Chris Shelley had just boarded a flight in Dallas bound for Orange County on Friday when, he says, a petite old lady sat down next to him, then moments later got up and walked to the front of the aircraft. Apparently, she'd gone to the front of the plane and complained that the man was too big for his seat. Shelley says the crew told him he was 2 inches over the seat and said he'd have to leave the flight. The average economy class seat on a US domestic flight is between 17 and 19 inches wide, but there's no specific law for passenger width and each airline operates differently. Back on the plane, Shelley said he was made to feel like, quote, not only a criminal, but a fat criminal. After begging the airline to ask the woman to switch seats with him as a compromise, Shelley was eventually allowed back on the flight. Shelley is a former Marine and flies frequently, up to 100,000 miles a year. He's received 2 apology emails from American Airlines, which says it is investigating the incident.
Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews. United Airlines strikes again. The airline everyone loves to hate is once again in the headlines, this time for giving away a toddler's seat and forcing him to sit on his mom's lap for the entire flight. Shirley Yamauchi and her 27-month-old son were on the final leg of an 18-hour journey from Hawaii to Boston on June 29th. United Airlines agents at Houston's Bush Airport scanned their tickets and let them through without incident. But once on board, a passenger who'd been on standby arrived with a ticket for her son's seat, which she'd paid nearly $1,000 for. She notified a flight attendant about the confusion, but the woman just shrugged and told her the flight was full. Wary of making a scene and getting the David Dow treatment, Yamauchi was forced to hold her son on her lap for the entire 3.5-hour flight. The toddler was in several contorted sleeping positions before eventually ending up standing between her knees. After getting off the plane, Yamauchi told agents at the gate of her ordeal. They directed her to customer service, who then told her to call the hotline. Thanks, guys. So helpful. United's excuse is that the ticket was scanned incorrectly, making it look like it wasn't checked in. Which sounds like a pile of horse dung, if you ask us. The airline's own guidelines require children 2 years and older to have a seat. But guess those rules don't count if there's an opportunity to grab a couple $100, huh? Get it together, United. Delta is pushing United hard in the bad publicity stakes.
So my kid, so my wife, we're gonna be in jail and my kids are gonna be what?
It's a federal offense if you don't abide by it.
Another day, another airline controversy. This time it's Delta in the spotlight for kicking passengers off an oversold flight. Only now it's an entire family with young kids getting booted off and threatened with jail if they don't comply. This video was filmed on April 23rd aboard Delta Airlines Flight 2222 from Hawaii to Los Angeles. It was posted to YouTube on Wednesday by Dad Brian Shear from Huntington Beach, California. Shear's wife Brittany started filming when airline staff asked the family to give up a seat they had paid for to make space for another passenger. The couple was traveling with 2 toddlers. The seat was occupied by the couple's 2-year-old son. For safety reasons, they planned to strap him into a car seat placed on top of it. But the airline insisted Brian hold the boy in his lap.
Because he's 2 and under.
Okay, I got a solution. He can sit in her lap. Okay, and then we can take off, and then we can put him back in the car seat. That's what FAA rules are.
No,
the bottom line
with him being, no, they're not. We're pulling him up right now. With him being 2, he cannot sit.
To make matters worse, airline staff said the child could not occupy a seat during the flight because it was against Federal Aviation Administration rules. Which is horseshit. In fact, the FAA recommends the toddlers sit in government-approved car seats for safety purposes. And so does Delta's own website. Oh, and never mind the kid was in the car seat when the Shears flew out to Hawaii in the first place. The issue that Delta used to trip the family up in the end was that the seat was originally booked in the name of Brian's 18-year-old son. But the teen flew back on an earlier flight so his brother would have a seat. The thinking being that otherwise the kid would not sleep on the 5-hour-long red-eye, and it would compromise safety with him crawling all over his parents' laps. But technically, tickets on Delta flights are non-transferable. Eventually, the family accepted that they couldn't win and asked if they could give up the seat and get in the air. Nuh-uh.
To have you guys all off the flight, or we're going to retain the whole aircraft and
so we're getting kicked off this plane no matter what now.
Instead, Delta threatened the family with jail if they didn't all get off the flight. They were told that not having anywhere to stay was not Delta's problem, and the family was on their own. So at around midnight, the Shears had to scramble around for a hotel. They then spent around $2,000 on a new flight leaving the next day. And as if things couldn't get any worse, that flight was with United. On Thursday, Delta apologized and said they'd contacted the family to offer them a refund and additional compensation. Guess Delta just wasn't happy with United getting all the limelight.